7. But it's a really nice turnout, and it's nice to have you all here. Before I forget, breakfast tomorrow is from 8:30 till 10 o'clock. It is 8:30 to 10 tomorrow right here. All right, I have a little bit of history. I found online the passenger list of Heinrich Korngut when he came to this country. Uncle Henry, who a lot of you are descended from, was born in 1891, and he came to this country in July of 1911. He was born in Budapest, Hungary, and he came on from Rotterdam on the Noordam, was the name of the vessel.
I thought they came from Zakopane.
No, they had
My
left
grandmother
Zakopane
came from the
already.
USS
They all left
Titan.
Zakopane. Now, I'll pass this around, but I have a handwritten manifest of when he was on the ship. And it's just very interesting that I could find this. Now, I got some other information from my cousin Ronnie Berger. As you all know, Molly passed away recently, and Ron and Roger all got a lot of stuff that David and Molly had saved, and there was a lot of stuff, I understand. And I got some copies of documents, one which I'm going to read to you, which was from my Uncle David, who in those days, and his given name was Dagobert Berger. And on November 19th, 1938, he wrote to the American consul in Berlin in English. His English wasn't perfect, but it was pretty good. He wrote, "My dear sir, on July 15th, we gave our affidavits to the American consul at Berlin, and we got our registration. We were told that we shall have our physical exams only in February of 1939. By a personal situation, we are not able to wait such a long time. During the last days, we lost our positions, and during the coming days, our parents will lose their livelihood too. Besides, on January 1st, we shall have no room to live in. Above all, the mental strain is growing greater from day to day for us. We ask you very heartily to hasten our matter. If we should have now our physical examination, we should be able to wait for our visas in another country. The situation is awful for us. There are only some months until we shall get the permission to emigrate, but it is impossible for us to stay those months here. We should thank you very much if you give us permission to speak. Sir, we appeal once more to your humanity and sense of justice. Please ease and hasten our matter." And that was signed Dagobert Berger and Rudolph, who is my father, Ralph Berger. And then what accompanied that letter were affidavits from the family in the United States that were going to sponsor them. One was from Henry Korngut, who said he was 55 and resides at 42 Goodwin Avenue in Newark. And this was issued the 8th of June, 1921 by the county clerk in New Brunswick, New Jersey. He says, "I am married. I have a wife and one child. I'm a salesman for J. Kaplan at 147 West 31st Street, New York City, earning $50 per week." Yes. And in addition, I have assets consisting of $1,000 policy Prudential life insurance. I am the uncle of Dagobert, age 21, and Rudolph Berger, age 19. Then I have another one which says, "I, Milton Korngut, age 30, residing at 397 Chancellor Avenue in Newark. I'm married to Miriam. I have a wife and a child, and I am an insurance underwriter employed by Prudential Life Insurance in Roseville, 7th Avenue, earning $2,700 per year. In addition, I have assets consisting of a $15,000 life insurance. I'm a cousin of Dagobert. And there's one more. which is I, Emmanuel Corngut, Nanny, Ricky's dad, age 29, living at 790 Clinton Avenue, Newark, who's married with a wife and employed by Borders Farm Products as a salesman. Average earnings $47 a week, located at 55 Nesbitt Street in Newark. In addition, I have $2,000 cash and a $9,000 life insurance policy. And it was from these three affidavits that were signed by our relatives that brought my father and my Uncle David to the United States. And we're very grateful. And I also have the passenger manifest. It's amazing. Handwritten. This one is typewritten for my father and David, who came from Rotterdam to the United States. My grandparents, Aunt Marie and your Uncle Paul, unfortunately couldn't come to the United States at that time because Mr. Roosevelt, the president at the time, was not allowing any more German Jews to come to the United States. The quota was filled, and they went to Chile for several years, and then they joined the family back in New York. And that is, one other thing, there was a history written by my Uncle David that Colin found in his mom's stuff, which all of you had gotten years ago. Was the first family tree that David Berger wrote. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scan it and I'll send it to everybody so you can print it and have it yourselves. But it's a very interesting story of how the old corn gets first started, which was the corn goose with an H. No, what it was when Henry Corngut came here, he dropped the H, and all the descendants of Henry were Corngut without the H.
Well, we're the Moritz clan. So
But all the other, our great grandparents, Joseph and Rivka, had 13 children, 10 which survived their young years. And from these 10 children, we're all descended. And my grandmother was the youngest of the 13, and Henry was the next oldest. So that's why Joan, who is going to be 80, and myself, who I'm 64 right now, our fathers were first cousins. And so we're on the same line.
and my father too.
And Ellen and Lois. We're all in the same line on the family tree.
Even though we're different in age.
We're different. Ellen and I are very similar in age, even though her grandfather and my grandmother were quite different in age. There was, quite a large spread.
My grandfather.
And your grandfather.
But isn't Joan the only one who's 80?
You are mean. That's my grandmother.
Well,
I don't think it's mentioned.
I think it's a wonderful thing.
I don't think it's been mentioned at all.
Unfortunately, it's nice to see all of you here. And just to mention that my mom sends her love to everybody. She's in Fort Lauderdale at age 90, 10 years older than Joan. And she really is 90, and I saw her last Saturday. She said, I can't believe I'm 90. I mean, she's in great spirits and great mental health and physical health, and she sends her love to everybody. But she's the last one of that generation. After Molly passed away, now it's my mom is the last of that generation, and now Lois and Joan and Danny and Roger and Ellen and myself, we're the older generation now.
And Ricky, too.
And Ricky, too. And also Rick. That's right. That's right. And the family circle was formed in 1955 when Rick was 4 years old. And now he's over 60. But I won't tell
But
anybody.
not quite 80.
Not quite. And so we have a very rich family history. And I'm glad to report it every chance I get. Thank you very much.
Very good.
To add about David Berger and Ralph Berger, that family lore, I know the story has gone around, but maybe some of you haven't heard it, that my parents were living with Molly, Aunt Molly Kornhuth, Rabinowitz, at 171st Street, where upstairs Aunt Marie and Uncle Paul lived, so they all lived in the same building. And then my parents one day got a knock on the door, and it's these young guys, very energetic, and they said, "Who are you?" And Ralph said, "We're your cousins." And Ralph had just run back and forth on the George Washington Bridge about 5 times, and my parents were barely waking up. So that was the big story, that Ralph and David were very energetic and very entertaining, and we were very happy my folks were very happy to have these new cousins. So, any new business to report?
Before we do the new business, can I tell a history story?
Yes.
Okay.